The 19th century, a turbulent era of transformation. The 19th century was a period of profound upheaval and transformation, witnessing monumental changes that reshaped the global order across Europe and beyond. The thunderous hoofbeats of Napoleon's armies ignited fierce imperial wars for global dominance. Simultaneously, waves of independence movements erupted across South America, liberating numerous nations from colonial rule. In the East, China was engulfed in the flames of peasant uprisings, while Japan entered the Meiji era, opening its doors and undergoing sweeping reforms that completely transformed its society. Meanwhile, colonial empires, driven by ambitions of supremacy, relentlessly exploited the resources and labor of their colonies, amassing enormous wealth. In North America, the bloody Civil War between the Union and the Confederacy determined the fate of the United States and had far-reaching consequences for the global landscape. The 19th century also witnessed groundbreaking scientific and technological advancements that revolutionized human life. The advent of railroads and automobiles transformed transportation, shrinking distances and connecting the world. The invention of the revolver changed military tactics, increasing the lethality of warfare. From practical innovations such as canned food to revolutionary breakthroughs like the computer, from towering historical figures like Napoleon Bonaparte to mass-produced everyday products like underwear, the 19th century left a profound impact on human civilization. 11. Defining events of the 19th century that shaped the modern world. The Battle of Trafalgar, October 21st, 1805. Naval history was forever marked by the Battle of Trafalgar, considered by the British as the most crucial battle of the Napoleonic Wars, if not their entire maritime history. This resounding victory saved Britain from a potential Napoleonic invasion, securing the island nation's sovereignty and dominant naval position. Although Napoleon had already abandoned plans to invade Britain, the battle's significance was undeniable. Facing the formidable Franco-Spanish fleet with a superior number of warships, the British Royal Navy, under the brilliant command of Admiral Horatio Nelson, bravely engaged in battle and emerged victorious. The outcome decisively ended Napoleon's ambitions of naval supremacy while solidifying Britain's maritime dominance for the next century. Had the French won, Napoleon might have revived his invasion plans, and today, French might have been the world's dominant language. The abolition of slavery. The fight against slavery had been simmering since the late 18th century, and the British Empire, one of the most powerful of the time, was not exempt from this historical movement. Early efforts to abolish slavery existed, but significant progress was not achieved until the 19th century. Under the determined leadership of William Wilberforce, a passionate politician, slavery was abolished in British territories. However, this victory was only partial, as it did not immediately end the use of enslaved labor in Britain's vast colonies. Through relentless efforts, numerous legal reforms and policy changes, slavery was finally eradicated throughout the British Empire in 1838. Across the Atlantic, France also took steps against slavery. Although the French Revolution had abolished it in 1794, Napoleon later reinstated the practice. The British played a pioneering role in the global fight against the slave trade, deploying the Royal Navy to intercept and dismantle transatlantic slave trafficking. In the United States, slavery became a deeply divisive issue, ultimately leading to the Civil War. The abolitionist movement in the North gained momentum, while the South, whose economy depended on slavery, fiercely defended the institution. This irreconcilable conflict culminated in the bloody Civil War, ending with a Northern victory that freed all enslaved people across the United States. The Battle of Waterloo, 1815. One of the most famous battles in human history, the Battle of Waterloo, marked the end of Napoleon Bonaparte's ambitions of European dominance. After his disastrous invasion of Russia and retreat to Paris, Napoleon refused to accept defeat and exile. Escaping from Elba, he returned to France and quickly gathered an army with the support of loyalists. However, his dream of restoring the empire was crushed at Waterloo. There, he faced a powerful coalition army, including British, Dutch, Prussian, Hanoverian, and Brunswick forces under the brilliant command of Arthur Wellesley, the Duke of Wellington. The coalition delivered a decisive blow, ending Napoleon's rule in Europe. South American independence movements. The early 19th century saw a wave of revolutionary independence movements sweep across Latin America, a region long dominated by the Spanish and Portuguese empires. The decline of these colonial powers, along with the weakening of imperial rule, created a ripe opportunity for colonies to rise up and claim freedom. Between 1811 and 1828, nations such as Paraguay, Argentina, Chile, Guatemala, Brazil, Peru, and Uruguay declared independence after prolonged struggles against colonial forces. These revolutions were led by visionary figures such as Miguel Hidalgo in Mexico, José de San Martín in the southern continent, and Simón Bolívar, known as the Liberator. Bolívar played a key role in securing independence for Venezuela, Bolivia, Colombia, Panama, Ecuador, and Peru, reshaping the political map of Latin America. The Railway Revolution. George Stephenson. Known as the father of railways, George Stephenson revolutionized transportation with the steam locomotive and railway tracks. His pioneering designs attracted investors, leading to a rapid expansion of railroads during the 1820s and 1830s. Rail transport not only spurred economic growth but also democratized travel, allowing the lower classes to afford mobility previously accessible only to the wealthy. The end of Japanese isolation. For over 2 centuries, Japan adhered to a strict isolationist policy, sakoku, prohibiting foreign entry and Japanese emigration under threat of death. However, in 1854, this isolation was shattered when a fleet of American warships, led by Commodore Matthew Perry, arrived in Japan, demanding the opening of its ports for trade and resupply. Unable to resist U.S. naval superiority, Japan signed the Treaty of Peace and Amity, marking the beginning of its global engagement. A decade later, the Meiji Restoration of 1868 dismantled the Tokugawa shogunate, ushering in an era of rapid modernization and industrialization. The invention of the light bulb. Although Thomas Edison is often credited as the inventor of the light bulb, the development of electric lighting was a long process involving multiple contributors. It began in 1800 with Alessandro Volta's invention of the battery, followed by Humphrey Davy's arc lamp in 1802. British physicist Joseph Swan also created an early incandescent light bulb in 1878. Edison improved upon these designs, patenting a practical, long-lasting filament bulb in 1879, which revolutionized lighting worldwide. The American Civil War, 1861 to 1865. The U.S. Civil War was one of the deadliest conflicts of the 19th century, claiming 620,000 to 750,000 lives. Despite the devastation, it paved the way for the abolition of slavery, freeing over 4 million enslaved people. The Union's victory secured the nation's unity and set the stage for America's rise as a global superpower. The invention of the telephone. In 1875, Alexander Graham Bell changed communication forever with the invention of the telephone. However, Bell was not alone in pursuing this idea. Italian inventor Antonio Meucci had begun working on voice transmission technology in 1849 but lacked funding to complete his work. On the very day Bell submitted his patent, engineer Elisha Gray also filed a patent for a similar device. Bell's lawyers submitted first, securing his place in history. The scramble for Africa. Although colonialism had existed for centuries, the late 19th century saw a frenzied rush for African territories. At the 1884 to 1885 Berlin Conference, European powers arbitrarily divided Africa among themselves, ignoring indigenous sovereignty. This colonization led to brutal exploitation, resource extraction, and conflicts that continue to impact Africa today. The birth of radio. While Guglielmo Marconi is widely credited with inventing radio, Russian scientist Alexander Popov also made key contributions. Radio transformed global communication, influencing war, commerce, and everyday life. These events and innovations from the 19th century shaped the modern world, leaving a lasting legacy on civilization. The 19th century, a time of wars, revolutions, and technological breakthroughs. These events did not just change history, they laid the foundation for the modern world we live in today. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, Do not forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you will not miss more fascinating historical stories.